Hi, this is McCoy Buck, and in this video, we're going to be talking about angle constraints in Moho. Here I have this character designed by Mike Roberts of this robber. If I show the bones, you can see that there are a couple of different bones that make up this figure, and it's a very simple rig, as you can see. So like we talked before, this is my root bone, so I have my main root bone that controls where everything's going there. And as you can see, we got a really good example of inverse kinematics. It looks like Mike Roberts rigged this character with target bones so that the hands will stay in position to wherever you move them. So when I move the body forward, his hands stay in the exact same position where they're set. And this is all possible through a menu that we're going to go over called bone constraints. So if I hit B on my keyboard, this is going to bring up my bone constraint menu right up here. And it's a little drop down, so I'll go ahead and drop that down. And I have the option for angle constraint. So an angle constraint is basically going to set the constraints to an angle. Let me hide the layer here. You can see that there is a minimum and a maximum degree of how far this bone is going to rotate at its pivot point. So right here, it's going to rotate -70 to 70 degrees. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select something like the arm. So I'm going to select the arm bone layer, and I'm going to create an angle constraint simply by clicking on this check mark. You can see that there's an angle constraint that is going to be created. This is really helpful when you don't want your arm to rotate past a certain point. Whenever you are rigging, you want to begin with the end in mind. You want to be thinking of your animation itself. So this animation, I would imagine you had already storyboarded, and you have an animatic, and you have what it is that you want your animation to do. Now, the angle constraints is really going to help you to not over exaggerate and not go past any of the animatable points. So for example, his arm, I just set an angle constraint. I'm going to hit Z on my keyboard or the manipulate bones tool, and I'm going to grab that and I'm going to pull it. But because this is a target bone, it looks like I'm going to have to pull it from the target itself. So let's go ahead and pull that. And you can see I can't pull any farther than this particular location here. Same to here. So to see and to be able to set my angle constraints, I simply highlight the bone with B on the keyboard or selecting the icon and then clicking on the bone. And then I click on my check mark to turn on that angle constraint. And you can do this for any part of your bones. If I want to change the value, I can do so while this is open. I'm simply going to click in the field, and I'm going to go up or down with my mouse wheel to change the degrees. You can do so with the other side there. Or if you don't have a mouse wheel, just simply input your value by hand. So in this particular case, if I was controlling this character, his arm, let me go ahead and take the angle constraint off real quick. And let me just see how far the actual arm can rotate without making any bendy turns. So it looks about right, let's see here. I would probably set my angle constraint to right about here. So if I was to select this bone, go back to my angle constraint, click my angle, that was probably right about here. So that is going to be the stopping point. Now this is optional. You don't have to set angle constraints for all your bones. This is just going to help you in the final stages when you don't want to go past a certain point that you know is going to distort. See, I probably went a little bit too far, so I would have to move back my angle constraint just a little bit, probably about 20 degrees. So I'll put it to 60. So when I rotate his arm up, there you go. You can see that there's not going to be any terrible distorting. And if I render it, it still looks pretty okay. So that is basically it for angle constraints. It's a really easy tool to use. And though it doesn't need to be used all the time, it can be used often for a couple of different things. It's also used for smart bones, but we'll get into that a little bit later. In the next lecture, we're going to use the same character and we're going to talk about target bones. I'll see you there.